Archer commanders in Rise of Kingdoms have been quite lackluster all round, but we have seen Qin Shi Huang be quite a good commander. However, what about his rally counterpart? What about the next commander, rally commander coming to the game? He's not currently in the game yet, but Shapur. Is he going to be good? And today I'm going to be running some tests for Shapur, both as a rally, of course, and also as an open field commander. So if you're interested in seeing Shapur as an open field and a rally commander and whether or not he's going to be meta, you want to stick around till the end of the video. Now, let's start off today by going over the rally testing parameters. I tested 2 garrisons today. I tested an Eleanor garrison, and I tested a Tokugawa garrison. And to be quite frank, we used 2 very specific testing things. I'm going to hide my webcam real quick to show you. First of all, I used a full crit iconic set for both sides, VIP level 19 plus. I gave both sides whatever civilization is best for whatever they're doing. So for Cavs, I would have probably run the Byzantium, and then for archers, I would have been running Egypt, and for infantry, I would have been running Viking. Egypt for archers because we are rallying. Both sides get a 25% health bonus just to mimic a 10% skin or a 15% skin, a 10% rune. I know some troops don't have 15% health just yet, but in the future they may, so I thought I might as well just do the 15% health now, because it's a little bit unfair to not just do it. Of course, we ran in KVK, and the other thing to note is the way I ran these tests was with combat reinforcement, so it wasn't like a fight to the death, since as you can imagine, you don't need to do a fight to the death in a rally situation, because rallying isn't normally a fight to the death. It's a fight with reinforcements, and that is what I was aiming for with the combat reinforcements, and I ran the test for 10 minutes. So you can see if I start the battle right now, this timer at the top begins ticking, and that, once it hits 10 minutes, would automatically pause, and I would take a screenshot of those reports. The really long report meant it was pretty accurate depending on what it could be, so the results stayed relatively similar between reports, so I ran about 2 to 3 tests for each garrison I ran, and each different rally as well. With that out of the way though, let's get into the results. So now here are the results, and I know it's a little bit weird because Shapur is on the right side and the garrison is on the left. It's just because I kind of lined the testing up a bit weird, but with that, like, small bit out of the way, Shapur is a really good rally. I tested him with a lot of different things, generally performed pretty well, especially against Tokugawa. Tokugawa with Gorgo lost the first report by about 300,000 7 wounds. Keep in mind, these are 10-minute battles, so they get extended and they run out longer. So, in a small rally fight situation, maybe this won't be the biggest difference, but it is a solid win for Shapur and Ashurbanipal. The second report was literally, or like almost identical to the first report. This is the first report here. This is the second report. Very, very similar in terms of which side is winning. Losing by about 300,000 for Tokugawa and Gorgo. Third report, I did run this one 3 times. This was about the only one I ran 3 times. We can see again, losing by around 300,000 7 wins, a little bit less, but really very similar and close reports. I can't really go backwards because it's a bit glitched, but similar and very close reports for both the rallies and the garrison. Shapur easily winning most of these with Ashurbanipal. I think this is probably going to be one of his better pairings. But I did give him a test with a few other ones. I ran Shapur with Henry. Henry didn't do too bad. I mean, if you really want a lot of anti-swarm, you might be able to get away with it. But I think Shapur's kit is semi-anti-swarm. Not very anti-swarm, but it's a bit there. Henry, he's a bit outdated, so didn't perform as well. He actually lost this one by around 100,000 7 wounds. He lost the next one by around 80,000 7 wounds. And then I only ran 2 Henry reports. So very, very similar. Again, because these are very long battles and they're going to be very long for a reason because they're rallies, the reports remain pretty consistent. I only ran 2 tests for each thing that I ran, or some I even only ran 1 test because I was testing some small things. So Henry with Shapur, it's not going to be the better of the 2. I think Ashurbanipal will be better, but it's an almost neck and neck trade. I mean, really, if this was on a rally report, you'd be quite happy with it because it's almost identical, and you'll probably end up taking the win if a rally lasts that long because you'll be able to swarm it down. So garrison, quite a good garrison against, or quite a good rally against Tokugawa with Gorgo, which is currently the main meta garrison from what I've seen. Tokugawa Gorgo is quite strong, and it counters most things that get thrown at it. Next up, I thought I'd run Zulang because, I mean, he is quite a solid open field commander. I've seen him been used in rallies before. Keep in mind, Shapur with Zulang, I think is going to be a bit more squishy, or a lot more squishy than the other 2. Zulang has no rally capabilities at all, and has very little anti-swarm besides his AoE. But it did almost win. It did a little bit better than Henry only losing by around 30,000 7 wounds. So that is quite nice to see. Almost a victory there for Shapur and Zuj. Good report in my opinion. Not amazing. Obviously, you'd prefer a victory, but it was relatively similar across the board. This report, it was a little bit less overall 7 wounds, but again, losing by around 30,000. Very unnoticeable amounts. If this was in a rally or a Garrison situation, you'd almost not even bat an eye at it, because it's only a small loss for the Shapur and Zulang. So really, very, very fair reports and quite close in my opinion for the rally and the Garrison with Zulang. Moving on to another test, I thought I would just give it a shot. Cyrus with Shapur, because Shapur does have a lot of additional damage factor. It isn't the best. Honestly, I thought it would do a lot worse, all things considered, but it only lost by around 200,000 7 wounds. Now, obviously, that's a solid amount to be losing by, but if you have a Cyrus in a swarm on a rally with a Shapur rally, with, let's say, an Ashurbanipal, the damage you're going to deal is ridiculous. Cyrus's debuff, if it lines up well, is going to be really good with Shapur the first. It's going to give him an extra, I think it's 30% additional damage, and Shapur has like 3,000 damage factor on his active skill. So for that reason, it's going to really hit hard. It's going to do a lot of damage in a rally situation, and albeit for a very old, quite trash commander being Cyrus, like Cyrus is super outdated, he did do pretty solid with Shapur in the rally. Now, is this a good rally? Probably not. But is it interesting to see? Definitely. The other one I thought I would test, though, was just running a Gorgo primary, just to see if it really made a big difference. It is a lot worse. I wouldn't run Gorgo primary, losing by like 700,000 7 wounds. I just did one quick test for this, just to see what would happen. Now, I am recording this next bit post-editing because my microphone fully messed up and stopped recording. Hopefully, we don't have the issue again, but the next reports I ran were an Eleanor with a Yarn Ziska Garrison against Shapur and Ashurbanipal. Really, Eleanor got completely wrecked, if I'm going to be fully honest, in almost every situation. Shapur just completely won, and Ashurbanipal was probably the more dominant rally, winning the first report by 480,000, winning the second report by 400,000. Third report, we decided to run the Eleanor Heraclius Garrison. I had seen this one a little bit around in a few KVKs, especially on passes, and also inside of a lot of forts. It got wrecked, to be honest, losing by like 500,000 7 wounds and losing by another 500,000. So Eleanor with Heraclius definitely nowhere near strong enough to stand up against Shapur Ashurbanipal, which kind of just demolished them all, to be fully honest. So Shapur with Ashurbanipal, good march, definitely as a rally. It's torn through a lot of the very good Garrisons nowadays, and Eleanor is definitely no better. You would think maybe she could do okay because she is a Cav Garrison, but generally, when they release new rallies over time, we do notice that the second or third generation commanders for Garrisons tend to be completely useless, even if they're a different troop type. And that's very evident here with Shapur, just demolishing Eleanor Heraclius and demolishing Eleanor with Yarn Ziska as well. As for some of the open field testing, again, I kind of messed up here. I ran all of these reports. I think it's close to 50, and I was running Nevsky instead of Arthur as a secondary. Now, I've taken a lot of conclusions away from how being Nevsky being able to destroy Shapur. We're going to notice Shapur doesn't win any of these reports, really. Interesting to see. I didn't rerun all of them. I did run a few Arthur tests, not too many though, just because it's like at this point, if he's losing to a Hauchebing with a Nevsky, is he going to beat Arthur, who's much stronger? Yeah, I don't think so. But Shapur with Ashurbanipal here, losing the first report by like 14,000. It's a ridiculous loss. Same for the second report, same for the third report, same for the fourth report, and for the fifth report. Not very good with Ashurbanipal in the open field. Shapur Ashurbanipal, not a go-to. Another thing to note, Shapur's active skill, it's additional damage over time. It's a 3-second active skill, so you have to pretty much be chasing your opponents who can just turn around and walk away. So in those situations, you're going to notice Shapur is going to get quite damaged in those situations. He's going to lose a lot of his full potential, and I think that he actually could perform worse than he is showing in these reports. Moving on to his next set of reports, I ran Shapur with Zulang. Honestly, it did worse, losing by 17,000, losing by 16,000, losing by 15, oh, this is about 14,000, losing by 15,000, and then losing by around 14,000 again. So Shapur with Zulang, it's slightly worse. I think the AoE on Zulang would probably make up for that, but the tad bit worse there compared to Ashurbanipal. Now, Ashurbanipal is a better 1v1 commander than Zulang in most situations, but Shapur definitely not showing some very bright colors, with Zulang as a secondary. Probably not going to be a go-to march. Next up, we had a Quincy Hung primary, Shapur secondary. Maybe Shapur is a better secondary, and I think that could be a valid point. However, most of his pairings kind of push him to be run as a primary. You can run Ashurbanipal primary. You can't really run Zulang primary. It's not very good. Quincy Hung, I think, is more of a primary commander. At least you can only test him in the tester as a primary. And even then, Quincy Hung, considering how overpowered he's going to be, sorry, he is not winning these reports against a Hachebing Nevsky. Losing by 2,000, winning only one report. This was a very small win. I think this could have been a fluke, to be honest. It was the only report he won out of 5. Then he lost by 5,000 and lost by 5,000. So Quincy Hung, I think this more shows the power of Quincy Hung than it shows the power of Shapur, because Quincy Hung's probably going to be a very overpowered commander when he fully releases. So Shapur, definitely not a very amazing commander on the open field, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but Quincy Hung definitely is kind of the carry in that march. I then ran Shapur with Shajar. Honestly, this thing got demolished. The amount of 7s it was taking is ridiculous, and you're not going to run this thing on the open field for super long. I mean, losing the first report, it was like 10,000. Losing this one by 12,000. Well, I mean, technically it's winning because Shajar's healing kind of makes up for a loss, but the trades are horrible. She lost by 18,000 here, lost by 14,000 here, technically won this report but lost by 8,000. So Shajar, while obviously she's winning because she is one of those open field commanders who is going to be winning, she is trading miserably, and you don't really want to trade poorly on the open field. You're trying to trade positively, so Shajar probably not going to be a go-to choice. I then ran the Shapur with Zulang against the Hao with Arthur. It performed worse, losing by 16,000, losing by 16,000, losing by, I think this is about 17,000, losing by about 19,000, losing by about 16,000, and that's just a picture of Quincy Hung's head. So really, I didn't run too many more reports after this. It kind of gave me the conclusions I needed. Shapur is a relatively average open field commander, to be honest. There are a lot of stronger Archer open field commanders before him. I think the only time Shapur could be interesting for a murder ball, if you're running a lot of Archer Marchers, you might be able to get away with him. Or if you're running a Cyrus, just because Cyrus's debuff can be really good with Shapur, maybe we could see something interesting there in a murder ball. But it would be a bigger murder ball situation. You'd have to have a Cyrus. Most people just don't even have Cyrus expertise or even unlocked because he's not a very amazing commander nowadays. So Shapur open field wise, wouldn't really consider him before you're looking at around 3 or 4 Archer Marchers in, and most people aren't even going to get 2 Archer Marchers in nowadays. So maybe he could be alright with Ashurbanipal or with a Zulang as like a secondary to them, but it's probably not going to be your go-to choice. There are a lot of stronger commanders out there, especially for archers. I'd much rather you get a Zulang Herman or a Quincy Hung with a Zulang or Shajar, and they're just going to trade a lot better. So I think it doesn't really make sense in any way to invest into a Shapur. Not the best option out of the other commanders, at least open field wise. In terms of rallying, he's absolute meta. I mean, Shapur's rallying potential is insane. I don't think it'll be a very amazing rally with Quincy Hung, because Quincy Hung is not a very good rally, but rallying with Ashurbanipal is really, really good. Zulang is an option, and if you have field control, he's going to be a menacing rally. Now, the only thing I'm concerned a little bit, Shapur's anti-swarm, it's a bit here and there. It's not crazy high. It's not very bad either, but it's just not super meta. So for Shapur to really work, I think you need to have proper open field control, or you're going to find that he really does lack. But if you have good field control, he's pretty hard to take down, and Eleanor garrisons will get demolished, and Tokugawa garrisons will face a very similar fate. So I think that having good open field control, being able to launch that Shapur rally, will really do a number on pretty much every single enemy garrison, and it's going to make sure that you're able to really, really hold off the majority of your opponents. On top of this, I think that Shapur is going to be a overall pretty strong commander for rallying for a little while. He's probably going to stick around in the Archer Rally meta for the next 2 or so releases. And another thing to note, Archer Rallies have always been the type of rally where you kind of release them when you have proper field control. So if you got good field control, Shapur can be really good. If you have a Cyrus to swarm, he can be even better. So having someone in your kingdom with an expertise Cyrus who's willing to swarm garrisons will make him a lot better, because Cyrus's active skill makes you deal an extra 20% additional damage for 3 seconds. That's pretty much like a 20% damage bonus to Shapur's active skill, and it can be really good. One other thing to note, I don't know if Shapur has the skill tree. I am kind of forgetting it right now, but I'm pretty sure he does. Run latent power. Latent power on any commanders who have additional damage is meta, and obviously Shapur is going to have that additional damage factor. One more note as well, I forgot about his open field. I think I spoke about this a little bit before. Commanders which have second active skills, so they take different turns to trigger, such as Sargon, you can read his active skill here. It takes 5 seconds for him to fully attack. Most people just turn around and run away by the time that happens. They see the big red swords attacking them, and they're just going to push the retreat button, and then they're going to run away. So Shapur could take another hit to his effectiveness on the open field, because by the time he throws that active skill, your opponents will probably be in Timbuktu, and his active skill is probably going to miss the majority of the hits that it aimed to do. So in my opinion, open field wise, there are definitely stronger commanders than Shapur. He could probably be used in a pinch, but he wouldn't be a go-to. A lot of his skills as well, they're locked behind being a rally. Now, not everything, but there are a good chunk locked behind being a rally, which kind of makes him a bit more lackluster as well in the field. So Shapur, not the best open field option. Really, really good rally though. Probably going to be the meta. I don't know if he'd outperform Subutai in a swarm situation. So if you're being swarmed, maybe Subutai does a little bit better. Otherwise, I could see a Shapur rally meta being like really good. So Shapur, I think he's going to be a good rally paired with Ashurbanipal, especially Ashurbanipal. Okay with Henry, just not the best with him. Maybe Henry primary would do a little bit better, Shapur secondary. But I think that Ashurbanipal is going to do the best out of all the other commanders. Now, if you enjoyed today's video and you found this video like interesting, helpful, whatever it may be, please do consider subscribing. I aim to bring videos on all the new Archer commanders. I'll be overseas in Turkey very soon, so hopefully I can get a full unlock on Qin Shi Huang before then, so I can do a little bit of testing to see if he is really, really meta. So if you're interested in the new Archer commanders coming to the game, well, that's a very lucky pull. Please do consider subscribing to the channel. Completely free, very much helps me out, and it is very much appreciated. Other than that, I just want to say I thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.